I was president for 10 years of the Historical Society for the whole area up here between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And I had a lot of retired friends. And we said, we want to find out as much as we can about this place. So we started doing research. And I contacted everybody who ever lived at this place that was still alive. I went through their papers. There was about 125 people that we interviewed.
Wow.
In doing this, we realized that there was no old photograph of this house.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest one was from the 1940s. And so we would start asking these people who once lived in the house, do you have any photographs of the house that are older than the 1940s? And I had a friend.
So this house was built in 1805.
Yeah, but we didn't know that.
Right, exactly.
So I went to my friend at Tulane University, who is the professor of Historic Preservation Studies, Dr. Sizik, and his students had just done a study of this region, including this house, and he said, Norman, this house is older than we think it is. I said, well, do you have any old photographs? He said, no. So I went back to these people that we were interviewing, and I said, do you have any photographs? Nobody had a photograph, because some of the people who had lived here and some of the older houses had burned and their photographs were lost in that fire. But I kept asking, and then one of the ladies said, well, look, I have a photograph album. You could look through mine. So I went through it, and there was no photographs of the house, but there was a letter, and dated 1967. I said, can I open it? She said, yeah. I said, who's this from? She said, I don't know, but I think it was from the original family who lived here, the family that my family bought this place from. So I went through it, and it said, we had a wonderful time at the house. You were so hospitable. Thank you. We really enjoyed it. Here's our names and addresses. Let's keep in touch. 3 names and addresses. One of them was St. Louis, one was Morristown, New Jersey, and the other was Paris, France. We didn't know anything about this family who first lived here other than their last name. So I wrote to these 3 people asking them, do you have a photograph of this old house called Laura Plantation? The letter, my letter that went to St. Louis came back, no such address exists.
So we're talking about, this is 1993, so you're actually writing letters and putting them in the mail and sending them off to wherever, so there's no email, there's no...
No.
Yeah,
No,
this is all writing letters and sending them off and waiting for responses.
Well, we did. We got responses. The one said, the post office said this address no longer exists. Morristown, New Jersey, Paris, France wrote back, and the letter said, we don't know what you're talking about. We never heard of this place before, and the letter you wrote was to my mother who died last month. She was 99 years old. She probably would have known.
Wow.
But then Morristown, New Jersey writes back. They were the last one, and when they did, they said, oh yeah, I remember my parents went there in 1967, and we visited this place with the original family that lived there. But my parents are dead, so I can't help you anymore. So I went.
So you're missing the direct connect by one generation, it
That's
seems.
right. Oh, and then by 1 month, basically.
And then by 1 month, yeah.
Because that woman died, and she was 99 years old.
Wow.
So what I did is I said, well, I have one chance of finding a photograph. And I went to the New Orleans Public Library, and I found the telephone directory of St. Louis, Missouri. And I looked up everybody who had the last name of the letter that I sent it to. I sent it to a Mr. Stephen Gore. So I started calling every Gores in the book. There were 76 Gores in the library, in the St. Louis telephone book. So the first one was Andrew Gore. I remember there was Andrew Gore. I went through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. I got to S, number 72, Stephen Gore. And when I called him up, I said, hello, my name is Norman Mormion. I'm in Louisiana, a place called Laura Plantation. I've been saying this to everybody now. And I'm looking for a photograph of the house. Can you help me? He says, oh yeah, that was my grandmother's house. I don't have any information, goodbye. So I called him right back. And I said, please, could you just help me? It was the first time I knew that this woman, Laura, had lived in the United States. I thought she'd left and gone to France or something, you know? And no, he said, I'm not interested, I'm a very busy man. And so I said, okay. So that night I wrote 54 questions to ask him because we didn't know anything. And the next day I called him, and Stephen again said, I'm sorry, I'm a very busy man. I'm a businessman. I have lots of things to do. I don't have time to answer questions. I called him the third day.
Persistent.
Well, I had to be. I mean, this is the only hope I had of getting a photograph.
Right.
And so he said, no, I'm not interested. He says, but I used to know a girl in New Orleans years ago, 30 years ago. I can't remember her name, but Myra was her first name, and her last name was something like McMinney or Macaville or something like that. If you can find her, she's married to a Spanish psychiatrist. I might be interested in talking to you. Well, I found Myra Linville.